Um, can you tell me a little bit about some of the people in the mob pyros that people know about as far as like the Herons or Lip Dog or Trayvon or Buntry? Kind of any of those guys that you have any stories about?
Lip. Yeah. I go back with him, and I meant to. As I'm thinking, I'm looking at Reggie right now because he can really help me. I mean, we're talking about 30 some years ago. I know of incidents, but I may get something a little twisted with names or something, so I might refer to him to help me uh, to talk about this incident. But I remember we were living on Pine at the time, right in the middle of mob, and Lip, as I recall, he tried to rob our gardener over there, right almost at the corner of my house, Pine and Bradfield. But I think it was a kid that I also knew that played a little basketball with. I think that's when Glenn Christmas was a kid. Yeah, Reggie's nodding that he agree with me with the recalling what happened. But those two got arrested for robbing the gardener at that time. And I remember kind of talking with Lip later on, but I never had that much contact because he went to jail for a good while. And I think when Reggie really was working death row, and that him and Lip kind of reunited, but I never had that much contact with him. Oh yeah, murder. I mean, they killed the gardener. Reggie is reminding me that the incident was a homicide. And that's why Lip and Glenn spent a long time. Yeah. But when I say a long time, it was a long time for juvenile because I think they both were about 16 or 17. So they didn't stay life for 30 years or nothing like that. They got out in a short time, I think, before they were 25. But that was Lip as far as his thing. Heron was a pyro from Looters. He was actually OG Looters. And crazy as a bed bug. But every time, again, these cats, for some reason, if I go to talk to them and stuff like that, they have decent conversation. They never disrespect or go off. And I know Heron because he was short and loud, like me. I mean, every time I would talk to him, he would get real loud and all this and all that. And I used to have to calm him down. But he eventually did something crazy because I remember rolling to the incident where he had gotten shot. Apparently, they had some big event at the park, at Gonzalez Park, over there on the west side of Compton. And it was blood on blood type of incidents or rivalry, or not rivalry, blood on blood involvements, you know. And they were after Heron. And apparently when Heron left to go back to the mob area, he went down Rosecrans. And the crazy part about it is he was in his car. And about 2 cars behind Heron on Santa Fe and Rosecrans, going eastbound on Rosecrans at Santa Fe, was a big fire truck with firemen on the truck. But when he stopped waiting for the red light, all of a sudden this car comes around and kind of blocked him right there at that intersection and got out the car and lit him up. So we subsequently found the car and the people involved and found out they were Pyru. But the crazy part about it, they did it right in front of the firemen and everybody, you know, so they were good witnesses, the firemen. But that's the day that Heron got killed. And the actual motive for that, Reggie might can talk to more about that. I don't recall what it was about, but it was some type of internal conflict with that group. Yeah. That was Heron. You mentioned somebody else in.
Trayvon Lane or
Oh, yeah. Well, Trayvon, again, see me, I go back with these guys. Where Trayvon lived with his grandfather about 8 houses from where Reggie was raised, and we were living on Pine. And my daughter kind of, you know, hung down there with Trayvon, and then because the grandfather had a pool, and all the kids from the area would always go down there, and, you know, Trayvon would come up to my house and, you know, with Kim and that kind of stuff. So I kind of knew Trayvon. But I found out that Trayvon Lane was the young man that apparently they attempted to take the death row chain from in Lakewood, take from him. And he was the main one that was involved with that, with Orlando being one of the culprits who tried to take his chain. And subsequently, that night at the fight is when Trayvon saw Orlando, pointed him out, and then Tupac got involved, and I guess most of y'all know how all that went down. But that's Trayvon. It was somebody else that you referred to that was caught up in that mob stuff.
Bountry, maybe?
Well, yeah, Buntry. Again, I think I talked before, and Reggie talked. Well, that's Mob James' brother, Buntry.
Yeah.
You know, and they lived 2 doors from my mother's house, and kind of knew them, you know, coming up. But they were active, you know, Mob, Timmy Rue, and Buntry, you know, Alton. That's Alton McDonald. But one big incident that I remember vividly, that I always had concerns, you know, about their activity and so close to my mom's house and all that. But they always respected the family. Both families always talked a lot and all that. But one day I go over my mom's house, and I see police cars. You know, I was off duty, but they had surrounded the house, the block. And they had Mob James in the car, and Timothy. Some guys apparently were over by the store, and I'm certain if you heard mob stories, you would hear about this grocery store almost in Linwood, off of Waldorf. I forget what they used to call it. They had a name for it. Akins Market. Okay, I was talking about the incident at Akins Market where James was over there at Akins, and apparently James had a nice car with some Daytons on it or something. And these guys from another set, somewhere near L.A., or some Pyro guys too, they apparently was going to try to jack Mob James for his Daytons or something. But when Mob left the store, he, I guess, saw these guys following him or casing him out and knew something was about to go down. He called Timmy, who was at home, and told Timmy these guys are following him. So Timothy kind of armed himself and came out when James got to the house. He got out and they armed themselves and they were looking, and those cats was parked on the side street, and they started shooting at him. The other guys started shooting at Timmy and Mob, and then that's when they both returned the fire, and they had that got involved, and one of those guys got killed. And I ended up talking to both of them because they wouldn't talk to the police, and they kind of told the story. And that's how I think they beat the case of self-defense.
Okay. Do you have any stories about mob members Bob Gotti or Kdub? Do you have any recollection of interactions with them?
No, Kdub was always smooth. I met Kdub and his family through my Edison days, so I knew him prior to all this mob stuff. But Kdub, I never knew him to be a banger or anything. I mean, he associated with the guy, grew up with him and stuff like that. But no, I never had no negative contact with Kdub. Who was the other individual you said? Excuse me.
Bob Gotti.
Oh, Gotti, that's my man. Oh, I thought, yeah, of course. Gotti, the same way. I met him through my Edison days, you know, and he was older than the groups we're talking about. And we kind of, you know, talked and stuff, and he knew my son. He knew of Reggie and Sugar and them. And so, but he always was straight. I mean, but I had one incident that occurred. I remember at his house. He was living on Ward in some duplexes, and some guys from Atlantic Drive was selling a little stuff, and I guess Mob was involved a little bit in that. But some guys came over to jack him. Not necessarily Gotti, but the guy that from Atlantic, because they were out of the neighborhood. They were Crips. And some of the Pyrus saw him. And so they were going to, I forget his name, it's coming to me, but they tried to jack him in front of Gotti's house. And I think definitely got shot. I don't know if they got killed in that incident, but it's right in front of Gotti's house. But they wasn't coming after Gotti, the guys that were jacking. I had to interview Gotti behind that and stuff. So That was my first real encounter with Gotti in anything kind of crazy. But other than that, when he started working at Death Row and stuff, I would talk to him and stuff, but he's always Pops. He used to call me Pops also, Gotti. But that was my relationship with him.